AU anthem. And immediately when we conclude that, our program director, Mamthuli Lobise, will be taking over to start with the proceedings of the day. If I may invite us to stand up and we start with the national anthems, Johan. Thank you very much. Be seated. Over to you, Program Director.
Colleagues, good morning. My name is Tuli Lubisi. Are we okay now, Chair?
So sorry. I've muted.
What is it?
I wanted to show you screen. Just leave the meeting. Just leave the meeting. Here it is.
Are we ready on? No, okay. Okay. Thank you. Good morning, colleagues, and Lishile Bishop. My name is Turi Lubisi, and I am the thematic chair of communication and outreach, as the chair indicated. I'm not going to waste any time, Honorable Bishop. I am going to welcome and the opening remarks that is going to be done by the focal point of the APRM in Mpumalanga, Honorable Sasekane Manzini, who is also the MEC for Health in the province. Over to you, Honorable Manzini.
Thank you very much, Chairperson of this session, Mam Tuli. Let me take this opportunity and acknowledge the presence of the member of the Executive Council in the province, and also the Executive Mayor of the city of Mbombela, Councillor Sibongile Makushe, the Chairperson of the APRM, NGC, Mr. Tulani Tefuta, and the members of the NGC that are present here, senior government officials of the provincial government, as led by the Director General, Mr. Makuku Mamburu, and other HOD in our midst. Ladies and gentlemen, Sanbonan. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege and a unique honor to open this auspicious gathering of the African Peer Review Mechanism Mpumalanga Plenary. At the point of departure, please allow me to extend the sincere apology of the Honorable Premier of the province, Ms. Refilwe Mtsweni-Tsipane, who unfortunately is held up in another engagement that she could not postpone. Ladies and gentlemen, we are holding this plenary visually as a measure of limit physical interaction between people and thus contain the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. As you have correctly said, I'm also the MEC of Health. As a province, we are seeing a number of the increase, more than 40% increase in terms of positive cases, and hence also as we interact with other colleagues at the level of the NEC, we have agreed that we should minimize gatherings so that we are able to cap the spread of the COVID-19 in the province and in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, the pandemic has robbed the people of Mpumalanga of not only their loved ones, but also their livelihood. It has placed system of government and the provision of basic services under significant strain, pushing our limited resources and capabilities to the limit. In light of this condition, this gathering of APRM takes on even greater significance. This gathering is evidence of our commitment to strengthen effective governance, democratic practice, the rule of law, and social and economic development. As a province, we will outline how we intend to structure the post-COVID provincial economy and outline measures we have put in place to address the triple challenges of unemployment, inequality, and poverty. Through this strategic approach, I'm certain that this plenary will serve as a vital instrument for the achievement of South Africa's goal as enriched in the AU's Agenda 2063 and the UN's Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development. And as a province, we welcome you, and we know that you were supposed to have come a long time ago to present, but today we are happy, and the Honorable Premier has assembled a team as led by the DG and also the relevant MEC in this meeting to show that we as a province take this meeting very serious, and we hope and believe that working with the civil society and all key stakeholders at the provincial level, as it is happening at the national level, and a proper coordination will then assist us as a province so that we align ourselves in terms of making sure that we achieve our goals. Thank you very much, Chairperson. You are all welcome.
Thank you very much, MEC Manzini. I'm also welcoming the team to the province of the rising sun. That's where we come from in Mpumalanga, where the sun is rising. Without any further ado, I will now invite the chairperson of the NGC to come and give us, I think, welcoming remarks and introduction. Honorable, over you to Honorable Chair and His Excellency Thulan.
Let me take this opportunity and rise on standing protocols, safe to acknowledge the leader of the APRM country review mission that is in our country, His Grace Bishop Sengulane. Bishops in their nature lead flocks. And so when we acknowledge the bishop, we acknowledge him and the entire flock behind him. In the interest of time, let me bring it to the attention of this session of Mpumalanga that we have received a very warm embrace from the leadership of the provincial government of Mpumalanga. The Premier was trying every effort to be with us, even virtually. And when it became practically impossible, the Premier reached out to me through an official letter and even delegated the 2 MECs that are with us to make sure that they lead the delegation of the provincial government. And we're really, really grateful for that. The Premier of Mpumalanga is one of those when we extended an invitation working with the focal point. They were amongst the first ones to allow the NGC of the APRM in South Africa to present to their cabinet. And so they are no strangers to the work of the APRM, as upon the conclusion of our base document, we presented it to the cabinet under the leadership of the focal point and the Premier. There is something very special about this provincial government, Bishop, in the sense that the focal point of this province, being the MEC who just addressed us, has a clean record of 100% attendance in all our national meetings. And that record of 100% attendance, not just being a passenger, but engaging productively in all our work as the NGC. And she even serves in the steering committee of our NGC. And we're very grateful for that, MEC. We also acknowledge all MECs and HODs from other departments who have joined us as part of the leadership of government in Mpumalanga. The DG of the Mpumalanga province, as acknowledged earlier on, Mr. Makuku Mamburu, is a gentleman of great nobility I know for the longest time ever, right from the student movement. When preparations were shaping up, he reached out to me when we were in East London on a call, which basically took interest in every aspect of our consultation with the Mpumalanga provincial government. And his opening line was, I just got off the phone call with the Premier. And I told the Premier that to the best of my knowledge, the APRM is an intellectually and technically involved process. Are we going to come out of it alive on Wednesday? And we had a thorough discussion with the DG. And at the end of that discussion, we left fully appreciating the role that the APRM will play, both in enhancing the good work that is done by the provincial government and also proposing strengthening or new interventions in areas of weakness already. And I think that the provincial government of Mpumalanga has done itself a great service in the service of the DG that is leading the administration of the province. And thank you very much for reaching out, DG. The Office of the Premier, and specifically Mr. Mlelekwa, the Chief of Staff of the Premier, did not behave like a celebrity in this process. He had his hands very dirty by making sure that the coordination of this work is centralized in the highest office of the province, in the Office of the Premier. And so, to all the provincial stakeholders, we are here as the National Governing Council of South Africa, of the APRM, having done the bit that we could in the limited time that we had, having escalated our work to a level where our national cabinet has been able to approve our country self-assessment report. And now we are welcoming and embracing the country review mission led by the Bishop in order to assess and review that work. And provinces constitute a critical component of that review, which is undertaken by the mission. And so let's not hold back. Let's open ourselves. South Africa has a history of self-criticism. Let's open ourselves so that we're able to learn, so that we're able to share the lessons of what we think may be the best practices in our practice of governance and service delivery, so that other provinces can learn, so that other countries in the continent can learn from the work that we'll be doing as the APRM in South Africa. Most importantly, the Bishop is leading a team of highly competent members of the mission who, in our own assessment, have positioned themselves to rise above the problems that we experience in South Africa and position themselves to finding lasting solutions to the challenges that are known to us and to them. And so this team of the mission will be raising their issues and areas of interest after the presentations that will be made, so that we're able to have considered discussions and deliberations out of those. And with those few words, we do want to welcome again the Bishop and the entire team of the mission into this session we're having with Mpumalanga. Special welcome to the team from the Continental Secretariat that continues to provide us with all the necessary guidance and support, and the leadership of the NGC that is with us. We're here to learn from this process, and we extend our special and very warm welcome to the stakeholders from the Mpumalanga province who are joining us. We hope that we'll have productive discussions. We will make sure that in light of the agreed program, we stick to time and items so that we are able to make the best of the limited time that we have in this session. Thank you very much, and over to you, Program Director. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Our next item on the agenda is item number 3, which is remarks by the member of the panel of the eminent persons of the APRM Country Review Mission. And will now allow me to welcome the Honorable Bishop Sengulani. And I will also request the Bishop, after his address, to commit this session to the Lord.
let me start by, I commit the meeting to God in prayer right now at the beginning. Lord our God, we thank you for the blessing of life. We thank you for the blessing of responsibility over your children as APRM. We thank you for all those who have been working, praying, contributing so that we have this mission. We thank you for the beauty of Mpumalanga, the resilience of its people, the way you have provided there with different kinds of your creation so that people can enjoy the fullness of life as they come from different parts of the world to see you giving joy to the people in Mpumalanga. We ask you to bless each one of them. We heard of the great difficulties posed by COVID-19. We ask you, Lord, to protect those who have not been infected, to heal those who are infected, to comfort the families of those who have lost their loved ones, and use this exercise of the APM review mission as a way of providing the best information and the conditions that your people may enjoy fullness of life. We put ourselves into your hands, O Lord, trusting in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. Respected members of the Executive Council, the Director General, Chairperson and members of the APRM provincial and the national APRM teams, members of the APRM Secretariat, respected consultants, honored guests, and stakeholders of the beautiful area of Mpumalanga, ladies and gentlemen, respected fellow builders of hope. Although I am from a neighboring country of Mpumalanga, actually I live in the city of Matola, which has a special connection with Mbombela. But I don't come here representing only Mozambique, let alone Matola, but representing the whole continent. The members, the panel of eminent persons in the APRM. So that means that we are standing, making Mpumalanga as the center of our attention as a continent. I am pleased to be with you in this meeting to discuss governance and the commendable practices in the beautiful province of Mpumalanga, a province where the sun rises, renowned for its scenic beauty and its wildlife. I am with you as part of the APRM second generation country review mission to South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, your country, South Africa, is to be commended for its leading role as one of the 5 founding members of NEPAD and the APRM Good Governance Program. Since then, South Africa has steadily implemented APRM, completing its first self-assessment country report in 2006, hosting a review mission from the 9th to the 25th of July 2006, and a peer review in Accra on the 1st of July 2007. South Africa then produced 3 progress reports based on the recommendations of the first country review report, with the final progress report tabled at the APRM forum in 2014. In December 2018, Cabinet reinvigorated APRM processes by establishing an interministerial committee and revamping the NGC in July 2020 under the leadership of the chairperson, Thulani Sefula, whose leadership has proved to be competent and contagious. In 18 months, a country self-assessment report has been finalized, and this is really commendable. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is heartening that the South African reinvigorated national structure immediately embarked on the APRM second review. And we are here hosting this review mission with the report and the action plan for implementation due for presentation to the next APRM Forum of Heads of State and the government in February 2022. South African technical research institutions, which have completed the self-assessment, the University of Pretoria, the South Africa Institute of International Affairs, and Tutor Consulting, have completed a laudable country self-assessment report and were overseen by the South African APRM National Governing Council. In a short time, with these structures having started only in 2021, August, they have completed an excellent self-assessment report, which was validated early this month. This has led to the Continental Review mission today, which brings in experts in governance from 14 peer countries in Africa to provide an independent viewpoint on the governance challenges and good practices raised in the self-assessment report, as well as through their own independent background research using credible sources. Dear friends, allow me to recall that the APRM is a mutually agreed instrument voluntarily acceded to by AU member states as an African self-monitoring mechanism on governance. Since its inception in 2003, as part of NEPAD vision, APRM has completed 24 comprehensive first review and 3 second reviews that encompass democracy and political governance, economic governance and management, corporate governance and socioeconomic development. APRM has also completed 4 targeted reviews. Since its foundation in March 2003, the APRM has grown from a handful of member states to 41 in 2021, with the Democratic Republic of Congo as the latest to join in March this year, following the accession of Seychelles and Zimbabwe in 2020. This progress is in line with the AU Assembly's decision a few years ago for all AU member states to accede to the APRM by 2023. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, South Africa is a founder of NEPAD and APRM and has been at the forefront of APRM good governance process since its accession in 2003. The country self-assessment report produced by South Africa is of high quality and provides a balanced view of good governance, challenges, and commendable practices. Together with the background research produced by the review team, we have a picture of some of the challenges and commendable practices that emerge to be verified and fine-tuned during this mission. Many of these challenges, ladies and gentlemen, are known in Mpumalanga. As outlined by the Premier, Honorable Refilwe Ntshweni Sipani, in the state of the province, in the province speech in March this year, where she noted the pandemic had brought about a socioeconomic and economic crisis, including a negative growth rate of between -6% and -7% for 2020. Affected provincial economic sectors and industries, including tourism, construction, manufacturing, as well as transport and communication, with a projected loss of 85,000 jobs in 2020 alone. Despite a rebound in the provincial economy after the third quarter of 2020. And the province had also experienced severe flooding, which had destroyed roads, bridges, schools, clinics, and homes. Dear friends, the country review team will examine some of the challenges facing Mpumalanga and South Africa as a whole through five thematic themes, including democracy and political governance, economic governance and management, corporate governance, socioeconomic development, and last but not least, state resilience. The review report which will emanate from this process will be accompanied by a national plan of action that will respond to the identified challenges and will be harmonized by the National Development Plan and followed up on a regular basis through monitoring of implementation with ministries, the private sector, and the National Planning Commission. I'm optimistic that South Africa has all the tools to implement the NPOA in order to improve governance and contribute to the attainment of the NDP, as well as Agenda 2063, Africa's long-term plan for socio-economic development. In conclusion, I would like to thank the government of South Africa and its Mpumalanga province for pursuing good governance through the APRM and warmly welcoming this review mission. We thank you for proving that cooperative governance can be made to work for the benefit of this province and country, and a pledge to work with you in finalizing an impeccable review report that highlights both commendable practices to be shared across Africa, as well as governance challenges to be addressed through implementation of the National Plan of Action. So may God grant us grace to have soft and peaceful hearts and prosper our mission, which is noble, and may He continue to bless the people of Mpumalanga. Thank you very much.
Colleagues, let's give the Bishop a round of applause. Thank you so much, Bishop. I agree. One of the greatest strengths of the province, we always call it as the gateway to Africa. We call it a gateway to Africa because when you're in Mpumalanga, Chair, you can have breakfast in Swaziland and have lunch in Mozambique and have supper in Bombela. So we are the greatest scenery. And as you have said, Bishop, because like I think the doc also attested yesterday that when you go to Mozambique, especially in Maputo, you get the greatest prawns taste in one of the best town, that is Maputo. Colleagues, allow me to welcome the presentation which is going to be made by the Provincial Director General, Mr. Shube. Mr. Shube, are you connected? Let's welcome Mr. Shube from the Provincial Government of Mpumalanga. Over to you, Mr. Shube.
Thank you, Chairperson of the session, and protocol observed. Greetings to the Chairperson of the APRM, and greetings to the honorable members of the Executive Council. Thank you very much for the opportunity that is presented to us as the Mpumalanga Provincial Government or Administration to present our activities or interventions that as Mpumalanga we are involved with an intention of addressing the triple challenges, that is inequality, poverty, and unemployment. I would like to share the presentation. I actually have two presentations, Chairperson, and I must indicate that I have actually tried to customize these two presentations so that they suit the audience of the APRM. Chairperson, would you confirm that you are able to see my screen?
Director General, you can see your screen and it's quite, okay, fine. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. It's quite a lengthy presentation. However, I will try to browse through in the interest of time. As I indicated, I have V1, which is version 1. Version 1, since I think the audience is a country audience, this one does not necessarily talk to the specific localities or villages or areas where people live in Mpumalanga. It's a bit of a high level. And then V2 speaks to specifics in terms of the actual activities that are happening on the ground and the progress status to date. And I must indicate, Chair, that the approach that has been taken, whilst this report will indicate the anticipated impact and anticipated outcomes. However, for the purpose of this meeting, we will emphasize on the interventions, the things that we are doing so that they assist us to achieve those impacts and outcomes. However, we will not be able to present or share a measure as to what progress have we made in terms of the impact or outcomes, because we are in the middle of the term of this administration. It is only now that we are beginning to collect data on outcomes and impacts using sources such as the Stats SA and other databases, so that as we are moving towards 2022, then we should be able, therefore, to give a preview of whether these activities that we are doing, are they assisting or contributing towards achieving those outcomes or impacts. So due to the time constraints, also based on the request received, then I would ask that the audience of the APRM members bear with us that we will not be able to give as much detail as expected. The presentation outline will cover in the main 4 areas: the purpose of the presentation, the approach that we are taking as Mpumalanga in developing our plans and interventions, therefore giving a provincial performance status or interventions that we are engaged with in Mpumalanga since 2019 until 2024, and the conclusion. In our purpose, then, we're indicating that it is our intention to share with members of the APRM Country Mission Mpumalanga Plenary an overview on the performance of the province with specific reference to the medium-term strategic framework priorities. Our medium-term strategic framework priorities are basically 7, Honorable Chair. Then on this slide, we are just sharing as to how we have developed these interventions, starting from the National Development Plan, which is our country document that guides us until 2030. We're indicating that from the National Development Plan, we therefore developed the medium-term strategic framework, which is our 5-year provincial growth and development strategy that assists us, therefore, to chart a way forward in terms of delivering service to the people of Mpumalanga. And then this medium-term strategic framework is supported by different strategies or sector master plans. For example, we have the Mpumalanga Infrastructure Master Plan, we have the Integrated Human Settlements Master Plan, we have the Agricultural Development Master Plan, we have the Green Economy Master Plan, and so forth. And then our implementation approach is therefore that from the NDP, we then break the NDP targets into smaller chunks of 5 years, so that every 5 years, we then develop this MTSF, which we call the implementation tool of the National Development Plan. Taking cue from the National Development Goals, we appreciate the targets as set in the National Development Plan, indicating that the growth or GDP growth target from Mpumalanga, or rather, let me say for the National Development Plan by 2030, as indicated on the extreme right, and also taking the baselines of 2019, and then using the medium-term strategic framework targets for 2024, such that when we therefore place ourselves as Mpumalanga, we place ourselves within these targets that therefore we should be able to contribute towards assisting the country to reach these goals. As I indicated, that we are guided by the 7 apex priorities. Priority 1, focusing on a capable, ethical, and developmental state. Priority 2, economic transformation and job creation. Priority 3, education, skills, and health. 4, consolidating the social wage through reliable and quality basic services. 5, special integration, human settlements, and local government. And 6, social cohesion and safe communities. Priority 7, a better Africa and the world. And then we have cross-cutting focus areas, which are looking at issues of vulnerable groups, particularly women, youth, and persons with disabilities. And then when we look at the bottom left, that is where we are focusing on those 3 challenges. And then our targets, therefore, in terms of contributing to those goals, we wish to contribute by eradicating absolute poverty, so that from 39% people living below the poverty line are assisted, reducing unemployment to 6% and significantly reducing inequality to 0.60 Gini coefficient rate. And as Mpumalanga, in order to achieve these goals, we also had to mirror the 2030 vision and develop our own Mpumalanga 2030 vision that therefore gave us the horizon up to 2030, because this document was actually developed in 2012 and 2013. So over the past 8 years or so, this has been our guiding document, which is fully aligned to the national development framework. And then as a province, we understand the following as the key conditions for us to be able to deliver and achieve this work. In terms of the state, that we need to focus on agricultural extension training from the university, from the new University of Technology. The conditions that are required is that we should have a corruption-free province. We should also promote SMME procurement, and then also community involvement and ensuring that we integrate communities through
It's on his side. Let's wait and let's try to reconnect him. Is it? It's coming back, okay.
I'm sorry, Chair, it looks like I had a challenge with connectivity.
No, welcome, DG.
Thank you. I will then move to, let me share again. It looks like I've been disconnected, it's kicked me out. I'm trying to share again, Chair, just be patient with me once again. Okay, I think I'm okay now.
Okay.
All right. Chairperson, to address or respond to the priority 1 on capable and ethical development state. As Mpumalanga, we are coordinating IGR structures such as the PMC, which is the Provincial Management Committee, the Premiers Coordinating Forum, which brings together municipalities and the province to actually make sure that decisions in terms of governance are inclusive of both spheres of government. In these structures, we also involve national departments which are resident in the province. We also coordinating the signing of performance agreements by MECs and the Premier to ensure that there is accountability. We also facilitating annual monitoring performance agreements through the cluster program of action and the various committees that have been put in place. To ensure that there is functional, efficient, and integrated government, we are implementing effective and efficient financial management systems to achieve clean audits. And we also implementing integrated financial management systems in the departments. This work is supported by Provincial Treasury, which is our Department of Finance in the province. We also are modernizing our business processes, particularly within the context of COVID, such that our systems can be automated. Supply chain management systems, strengthening the governance and compliance management in the province through the strengthening of audit committees. We also strengthening support to disclaimer and adverse public institutions that have received audit outcomes which are not desirable. We are reviewing policies and procedures, analyzing audit improvement plans to address root cause, and analyzing asset registers to assist those departments to move to better audit outcomes, and making sure that recommendations on the findings by the AG are also monitored and implemented. We're also taking measures to eliminate irregular expenditure, which currently is recorded at 11.3 billion in sum for all provincial departments combined. We're also dealing with unauthorized expenditure, which is also recorded as 943 million. We're also dealing with wasteful expenditure, which is recorded at 43 million. Our intention, therefore, is to reduce this by 60%. Then we have interventions that we are engaged with to ensure that we achieve those desired outcomes or targets. We are further targeting 25% improvement in terms of municipalities, making sure that they strengthen their bylaws, municipalities to review their rates, tariffs, and annually compile supplementary evaluation roles. And we're also using the district development model to make sure that we have one plan for the district to bring together even the private sector to work together with government to deliver services. And we have biannual reports to monitor the implementation of the DDMs. We're also enhancing the capacity of the province in order to respond to disaster management through the coordination of the Disaster Management Committee or Council, and also ensuring that the Provincial Disaster Management Act is being implemented and complied to. In order to improve trust at local governments or residents, we are ensuring that we are strengthening the coordination of ward committees and ensuring that we use the integrated service delivery engagement tool so that we remain in touch with our citizens. Provincially, which is located in the Office of the Premier, we are using a tool which is based on the Vodacom network called Satise Silalele. This tool is enabling citizens to communicate just at the touch of a button through screenshots and communicating the challenges that they experience in terms of service delivery. And then we're able to track those challenges and respond within real time. We are also monitoring the compliance of mainstreaming of issues or rights of persons with disabilities, women and youth. So far, we are developing the provincial gender-based violence and femicide strategy, which is underway for approval by the Executive Council. And we are also implementing the procurement, targeting 30% of the value of goods to be procured from designated groups. This work is implemented and monitored through provincial treasury. Priority 2, which talks to economic transformation and job creation, has about 9 outcomes, which I will not dwell to. And then we have these as our provincial targets as a province, targeting 5% GDP growth by 2024, GDP per capita at 110,000, and public infrastructure investment to be about 10%, and then percentage of poor road networks to be reduced from 28% to 24%. These are the key interventions that we are implementing to respond to creation of jobs and investing for accelerated inclusive growth. We're targeting 575 work opportunities through EPWP, and they are broken down according to their categories. And we've also finalized the Mpumalanga Economic Recovery Plan. We've also led municipalities to develop their district economic recovery plans, which would be implemented at a district level. We have also finalized the Mpumalanga anti-poverty strategy, which is led by COCTA in partnership with the public-private companies or sector. To ensure that we invest for accelerated inclusive growth, there are a number of projects that we are implementing. The development and finalization of the mining and metal industrial technology park, which focuses on Hertsibande and Kangala regions, which are our mining hubs and manufacturing hubs. The petrochemical industrial technology and the SMMEs for manufacturing and green economy, which is informed by our Mpumalanga Green Economy Master Plan. As indicated earlier on, I'm sure other members may have had an appreciation of the launch of the project on greening Mpumalanga, which was launched by the Premier in one of our districts and or municipalities, Chief Albert Lutuli, about 3 months ago. And of major infrastructure, just away from the Mpumalanga Provincial Government Complex, we have started a very big structure called the Mpumalanga International Fresh Produce Market, which will be linked to the agri-hubs across the province. This Mpumalanga International Fresh Produce Market will assist us to contribute and export our fresh produce to the international market. But in the main, it will also allow the small emerging farmers to participate in the main economy because it provides a market for the emerging farmers so that their produce does not rot. We are also conducting a feasibility study for the tourism train project to ensure that we boost tourism in the province. But we're also happy to indicate that the Mpumalanga Tourism Recovery Plan has been developed as a response to COVID, since we know that most of the tourism service providers were affected by the state of emergency in terms of locking down the country through when COVID pandemic broke out. We also implementing the Mpumalanga Industrial Development Plan, and we also in the process of finalizing our 10-year broadband plan to ensure that when Department of Communications and Technology rolls out the spectrum, as Mpumalanga, we are ready to connect our people and ensure that we participate in the digital economy. We have also developed the SMME development strategy to ensure that SMMEs also participate and benefit from the market or the economy that we are building as or growing as the province. As I indicated earlier on, we are also reviewing our Mpumalanga infrastructure master plan, and we have finalized and approved the provincial spatial development framework. The Mpumalanga infrastructure master plan encapsulates a number of key infrastructure projects. Among those, it would include a coal haulage road network to support mining and manufacturing industry in Kangala and Khatsibande. We are also making sure that we create EPWP jobs within our communities by surfacing some road networks, including the tourism roads, gravel roads in our townships, and so on. So these are the targets in terms of the sizes and the distances of or the network that is covered by the targeted roads over the next remaining 3 years. And amongst others, Chair has indicated that cross-cutting issues for women, military veterans, persons with disabilities are also taken into consideration by making sure that 40% of the opportunities through the contracts that are awarded by government are accessible to these vulnerable groups. Priority 3, which is education and skills. There are a number of projects that we are also involved with, but high on the agenda is the early childhood development cohort, which covers 0 to 4 ages. As we would know, Chair, that if our children do not have access to early childhood learning, their performance in the next or higher grades becomes a challenge. And therefore, we are ensuring that the ECD strategy that has been developed, we are implementing it, and to complement the decision taken nationally, we are then migrating ECD from social development to the Department of Education. And this process should be concluded before the end of this financial year. We are also contributing towards primary school, implementing the national reading plan so that our learners are able to read with understanding, because most of the challenge through the assessments that were done is that most of the learners at primary level are reading English literature or the language without comprehending its meaning. So the reading campaign or program at the foundation phase and making sure that we teach numeracy is also one of the priorities. And also making sure that we monitor implementation of the curriculum in public special schools. And amongst others, we are planning one special school for Nkangala, Emalahleni, a special school for persons who are blind or for the blind. We are also, chairperson and members, making sure that we up our game on maths and maths literacy. And we also ensuring that through the support of ICT, schools and special advisors are able to provide that kind of a service without necessarily coming into physical contact with these learners. And there are a number of programs, as indicated at the bottom, which are supporting all these initiatives and making sure that there's also some application of technology and software systems to assist our learners on these areas of work. Our matric pass rate continues to improve. We are targeting 90% by 2024. The baseline, we're at 79% in 2019, and this has demonstrated improvement ever since. There are a number of activities that we are engaged with to support and ensure that we achieve these targets. Through the MST, Math Science teaching institutions, the central institution that has been established is located in Emalahleni, where we're able to connect all schools that are part of that network at a go to share particular lessons. And we also annually develop what we call the learner improvement plan to ensure that schools that are underperforming below the target of, or the minimum of 45% are assisted so that we can boost their level to 80% performance. And in order to respond to youth unemployment, we have established the Mpumalanga Youth Development Fund in the province to a tune of 250 million over a period of 5 years, broken down into targets of 50 million annually. We have currently approved about 50 companies, and 43 million has already been disbursed through our institution Mega, so that these companies, particularly for the youth, are able to create job opportunities. We are also awarding bursaries over and above what NEFSAS or NSFAS is providing, particularly to those who are unable to access NSFAS in the province. We are also continuing with deployment of school infrastructure. Particularly, one of the major two programs is to ensure that we eradicate those school structures which are below the minimum standard as determined by national department, but also ensuring that there's availability of ablution facilities and sanitation, because it is one of the major problems. And also we are targeting about 200 schools to be connected through broadband activity and ensuring that we digitize our textbooks. Chairperson, I am moving to health. One of the goals on health is to ensure that there is universal health coverage for all South Africans achieved by 2030. This is introduced through the NHI bill. Whilst there are still some discussions and challenges in terms of implementing the NHI in full, we are also deploying and improving our infrastructure within the health sector. We are delivering 8 hospitals, and we are also constructing a new tertiary hospital at Mpumalanga, and also construction of 10 PHC facilities. Our target is therefore to ensure that all these facilities are sufficiently and adequately secured, and ensuring that the emergency or ambulance services is available. And there's a process of procuring and improving our capacity in terms of emergency services by procuring 67 new ambulances. And we're targeting that our 162 facilities must be compliant or reach or achieve the ideal clinic status. And we are working hard to ensure that our community health care workers are sourced sufficiently in all our facilities, targeting 90%, and ensuring that we are implementing the HIV and AIDS 90-90-90 strategy, which through the Mpumalanga AIDS Council, we are able to monitor. The recent Mpumalanga AIDS Council sitting was held at Chief Albert Luthuli on the 1st of December during the World AIDS Day celebration, which was a success. We are also rolling out access to antiretroviral treatment, the ARTs, ensuring that testing is also conducted so that we can monitor the level of infection or the transmission of the HIV virus. Chairperson, we are working hard also to reduce maternal and child mortality by implementing our strategy on the reduction of maternal and child mortality to ensure that this is reduced from 92.4 per 100,000 live births. Because one life is important to us. It is our intention that we should reduce this to levels or to 0, if that is possible. Amongst others, Chair, we are also continuing to support the improvement of educational and health outcomes to ensure that women, girls, youth, and persons with disabilities have quality access to health. I am on priority 4, which is consolidating the social wage through reliable and quality basic services. Firstly, to ensure that there's a transformed social welfare, we are increasing the number of social services professionals in the public service to ensure that we have a sufficient number of social workers so that the ratio can improve from a 1 is to 10,500 to a 1 is to 5,000 ratio. This we will achieve by gradual movement towards the target. And we're also implementing the provincial drug master plan and the prioritization of the 2 new treatment centers, which is Swartfontein Treatment Center at Tlanzeni and Kangala Treatment Center, Delmas. These are to ensure that they are operationalized, because the In particular, the Nkangala Treatment Center, which is outside Delmas, is complete. Swartfontein also, it's a center that has been there, but we're making some improvements. Has indicated that we are migrating the ECD to education from social development, but also ensuring that we address social grants and ensure that children or child-headed households also are taken care of to reduce poverty and inequality. In collaboration with SASSA, we are working together to ensure that those who are eligible for social grants are able to access them. We are also implementing our food and nutrition security program. As of yesterday, Chairperson, we had a meeting with the national departments and the presidency, where we were finalizing our provincial food and nutrition security plan, which will cover a period of 5 years from 2022 to 2027 to ensure that we fight against hunger and lack of food. We are also rolling out our sanitary towels program, particularly targeting girls at Quintile 1 and Quintile 2 schools, so that we reduce the dropout rates. And we're also conducting or implementing our youth development centers, which are benefiting 108,000 youth currently. 2 centers which are due for opening up are almost towards completion at Msokwaba and Danchi, respectively. And we also continue to provide support to a number of families to care for children and adults with disabilities. Moving to priority 5, spatial integration and human settlements. Chairperson, one of the major challenges facing us as the province is the mushrooming of informal settlements. And for us to deal with this problem and ensuring that we have good use of our space, we are then coordinating the implementation of the geospatial referencing across the 3 spheres of the government. And we are coordinating and monitoring our regional spatial development frameworks of the 3 districts. And amongst others, we have a major project that we are implementing in Danchi, which we refer to as the Nkosi City. This is one of the smart cities that are being developed in the province, but at the same time, it will include the agricultural component, such that those residents or a portion of that land is used also for agriculture. As I indicated earlier on, that we have finalized our provincial spatial development framework, and through these, we have 6 Mpumalanga projects, Mpumalanga PSDF projects, which are being monitored. And we have also profiled our different areas so that they could guide what kind of development is required for those specific areas. And we're also profiling our townships so that we are able to revitalize our township economy. I've spoken earlier on about the disaster risk management, which through COCTA we are ramping up our capacity to manage all provincial disasters as we live under the period of climate change. We are also making strides towards making sure that smallholder farmers are supported, and we are providing the 3 agri-hubs, which will ensure that their produce is safely stored and packaged for the market and be ready for distribution through the international fresh produce market. In the area of human settlements, as I indicated earlier on, regarding our challenge in terms of informal settlements, a number of projects are in place. We are finalizing our integrated human settlements master plan, which is en route towards the Executive Council for approval. We are targeting 100,000 housing opportunities in this period of 5 years. And a number of integrated human settlements projects are underway as listed in the presentation. And we are also providing funding to the gap market, those who can't be funded either by the banks or through the housing subsidy. We are also working hard to eradicate all housing backlogs and asbestos roofs, which are dating back since 1994, and ensuring that our people have access to title deeds, because we believe that title deed, it's one right that they deserve in terms of ownership. Water scarcity is a problem, or water access. We have developed the Mpumalanga Water Master Plan for we are planning to finalize the Mpumalanga Water Master Plan by 2023. And one of the major initiatives in the province or under Mbombela is the construction of a dam which will supply communities in Ehlanzeni. We have also developed a management plan to reduce non-revenue in the area of water for Tembisilehani and Emakazeni municipality. And we have also developed water services master plans for these other municipalities, Victor Kanye and Emakazeni. In the area of sanitation, there are a number of projects that are targeted, about 15 wastewater treatment projects. And we're also constructing sewer pump stations for Pola, Iraq, Kwazamogutle, Rondebosch, which are areas in Kangala. Ensuring that also there's access to electricity master plans for governing Peki and the other municipalities will also be finalized by 2024. And we're also assisting these municipalities to reduce non-revenue on electricity, because you find that one of the major problems in the province, most of the municipalities are indebted to ESCOM, and they are unable to cope with the increasing debt, since ESCOM charges or adds penalties every month. And we're also targeting waste removal to reach 966,000 households. Priority 6, which is social cohesion and safe communities. We are also promoting the Constitution and its values in different schools through campaigns, print and electronic media. We're also making our communities aware of the national symbols, particularly schools, and also doing some outreach initiatives to change the behavior in relation to gender and xenophobia, and many other initiatives to ensure also that there is access to library. We are constructing 10 new libraries, but at the same time, with the advent of technology, we are adapting to change and making sure that we also create electronic libraries, so that those who are able to do and access libraries are accessible digitally. We're also promoting social cohesion through cultural activities. Just over the weekend, we've just wrapped our program that was rolling over 2 weeks, which we refer to as the cultural experience. And we also are implementing advocacy platforms on social cohesion by social cohesion advocates. Chairperson, it is public knowledge that activism by citizens of the country is slowly going down. It is our desire as the province to ensure that we educate our communities about their citizens' rights, so that when it's time for elections, be it national, provincial, or local government elections, they are able to respond in numbers as active citizens in our communities. But at the same time, we are calling on our citizens to participate in governance through bodies such as hospital boards, school governing bodies, and also participating in the governance of public entities. I'm moving towards closure, Chair. To ensure that there's increased feelings of safety in our communities, we are also in the process of finalizing our provincial strategy against gender-based violence, which strategy should be approved by the Executive Council in this financial year. And going forward, then we'll be implementing and monitoring the strategy. We are also, together with SAPS, making sure that there's increased visibility and patrol in our communities, and also to reduce accidents on the roads. We are ensuring that we increase visibility of the traffic officers assisted by SAPS. On the last priority, Chair, which is priority 7, a better South Africa, Africa, and the world. Excuse the typo there that omitted the L. We are realizing, Chair, that we are in a global space. And alone as Mpumalanga, we will not be able to develop our economy. So through initiatives such as international cooperations, we are driving or trying to invite foreign direct investment, so that in the province by 2024, we are targeting to have recruited 1 billion worth of investments. But we are doing this through our institution MEGA by piggybacking on the national cooperation initiatives or partnerships that South Africa has with other countries. And we also taking advantage of the Africa Trade Continental Agreement, so that we are able to exploit that advantage and export our commodities and goods to some of these countries. We are targeting partnership with some of the African countries or provinces in African countries, if I can put it that way, such as Kenya, Cameroon, Tunisia, and so on, those that we think can have a mutual advantage. And we also are supporting efforts to grow our tourism through the Mpumalanga Tourism Agency by promoting Mpumalanga in South Africa and in the continent and other continents, so that it becomes a preferred destination for tourism. We are also conducting the feasibility study for tourism train, and also ensuring that the tourism recovery plan that we have developed gets implemented, and through the implementation of the Tourism Act. Chairperson, it is my pleasure then to indicate that we also draw inspiration that as we continue implementing our work and monitoring and evaluating our work, we draw inspiration from some of these academics who emphasize that if annual performance information is presented by itself without a context and benefit of a program of evaluation, there is a danger of program managers, legislators, and others drawing incorrect conclusions regarding the cause of improvements or declines in certain measures. By simply looking at trend data, usually cannot tell us how effective our government program interventions were. This is China Sara in 2003. And lastly, we also stress the need for good evaluative information throughout the life cycle. A monitoring and evaluation system should be regarded as a long-term effort as opposed to an episodic effort for a short period and for the duration of a specific project, program, or policy. So this is our belief, Chair, that if we're able to put our M&E systems and ensure that they are effective on a continual basis, then we'll be able to achieve our goals. I thank you.
Let's give the DG some round of applause. Kindly stay online, DG, because now I'm going to invite the thematic chairs of the mission and also request your team to be on standby also for the questions that are going to be asked by the thematic chairs of the mission. I'm now going to request Prof. Alex to come to the fore. Let's welcome Prof. Alex.
Thank you very much. DG, I want to thank you for your very elaborate presentation. Mpumalanga has an ambitious plan to upgrade services and to improve the well-being of its citizens. But I noticed that a great deal will depend on the performance or capability of subnational governments below the provincial level, your municipalities and local governments. From the presentation we received when we were in Eastern Cape, we realized that 75% of your municipalities are either medium risk or dysfunctional. Specifically, 45% are medium risk and 30% dysfunctional. Given this situation of the municipalities, how confident can you be that they will be able to participate to provide services to the vast majority of our people? I didn't see how the plan which you have outlined focuses on improving the capability of the municipalities to enable them play the significant role which they must if we're going to achieve the level of well-being that Mpumalanga anticipates to ensure happens in the next few years. I will welcome some elaboration of how you're going to involve the municipalities more going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prof. I'm now going to request Dr. Lucy for her questions as well to the team.
Thank you, Madam Director. Thank you for the presentation, Honorable Director General. I was particularly taken aback by the data, performance tracking, and the percentages that you have presented on your key focus areas. We would like to congratulate you on that. And in line with, my name is Dr. Lucy, and I'm from the corporate governance thematic area. And I tried to check to see the performance of the state-owned enterprises in Mpumalanga province. And I heard you mention that you were addressing the job creation issues, and you listed 50 companies that are collaborating with the province in creation of jobs. I would like to see, to get clarity on how of that collaboration. You mentioned that 50 companies were selected and they were given 40 million rand to be able to create jobs. I also like the aspect of the administration trying to look at people to participate in state-owned enterprises and having to encourage them. But I want to know if there was any time that you checked for trust as an index of why people may not be too eager to want to participate, but will need some encouragement. And I would like to know your opinion about the governance process of state-owned enterprises. We have looked at the ease of doing business for the Republic over the past few years, and it's been on the decline and depreciating very fast. We've also looked at the performances of the provinces as cited by our colleague, Professor Alex. And we know that the issues of GDP growth and all that are almost directly proportional. I would like to know the mortality rate, if you have an indication, or if you could refer us to the mortality rate of businesses in the province. For now, that will be all. Once more, thank you very much, and I wish the province well on the performance tracking, and we look forward to some of these on the website. I've checked the website of Mpumalanga province, and some of the KPIs you mentioned here were not there. It would be nice if the residents and citizens can also see those indicators on the website. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Lucy. I think let's allow all the thematic chairs to ask their questions. Honorable TTG will then respond after they've all requested their questions to be followed through. I'm now going to request Prof before Doc. Doc will be the last. And also, okay, bye.
Thank you so very much, Chair of the program, and thank you so much. I stand on all existing protocols. My question is just one, and the question is, there are so very many documented evidence to suggest that the municipalities are somehow overstaffed, and still they struggle to provide necessary services to the people. In that, in most instances, they hire consultants to deliver the same job that they hire people within the municipalities to perform. In this case, jobs are not created in the right places, and overstaffing is observed in a lot of places. My question to you, sir, is how will your province be able to unlock the bottleneck that hinders service delivery within the municipality, and also unlock the potentials to create meaningful jobs? Because there are possibilities based on literature and what we have seen in the understanding of the structures of the municipality to unlock these potentials. So we would like to know, going forward, what is the municipality prepared to do differently from what it has been doing over years that has not really worked sufficiently? I thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Allow me to invite the Prof also to come and share his question. Yes.
Thank you. My name is Anthony Barclay, and thank you very much, DG. I think your presentation was very illuminating. I would like to make a comment and ask a question on your priority number 2, economic transformation and job creation. I must commend you for linking the two because they are indeed interlinked. The more there's economic transformation, the more likelihood that there will be increased job creation. More job creation, the increased probability that transformation, economic transformation will be more robust and sustainable. However, there are programs and activities to strengthen the dynamics in these interlinkages. They are both challenging, competing, and compelling. I would like to bring in the example you gave, or one of the items you gave, a public-private partnership that would be developed and enhanced to contribute to your economic transformation and job creation program. These two segments, public sector and private sector, have individual goals. The private sector is profit-oriented. The public sector, among other things, are service delivery in an equitable and efficient manner. Now, to strengthen this partnership and to use the partnership in the true sense of its meaning, my question is, what mechanism do you have to strengthen this public-private partnership so as to maximize its contribution to economic transformation and job creation? Thank you very much.
Thank you. What will be last?
Thank you very much, Program Director. And we wish to extend our appreciation to the DG who has made a very elaborate presentation. But DG, allow us to ask a few questions in terms of disaster management, because we saw in your presentation on page 15 that the Vision 2030 of the Mpumalanga province takes into account disaster management, and as thematic group for us, it is very commendable. However, allow me to ask a few questions. First, what will be, DG, can you please give us an indication of your investment in terms of disaster management in the province? Because so far we went to Western Cape province, and we saw the impressive investment that has been done by the province in disaster management, and that is also commendable. Please let us know how much you're investing. It's important for us to make some analysis. Secondly, we know South Africa as a whole has usually made a reactive intervention to disaster management as opposed to the ideal way of proactive response. DG, in your province, what is the way forward? What are the actions that are taken to ensure preparedness and also recovery of the population soon after disasters? We'd also like to know, to know from you. We know in South Africa, disaster risk management is the responsibility of local governments. It's public knowledge that already South Africa the pre-COVID-19 financial situation of the country is that South Africa was indebted close to 79%, and that as a result of COVID-19, most of the provinces are under financial stress, where and you know you are having already challenges, serious challenges in service delivery. How do you plan to fund your ambitious plan of disaster management in the province? And lastly, would you like to just share with us, privately or publicly, the challenges and best practices in disaster management in the Mpumalanga province? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Doc. Thank you so much. DG, your response to the questions from the team?
Thank you very much, Chair. Can I respond without switching the camera on?
That's fine, DG.
Oh, that's fine.
Do you want to see the DG or Doc? I think it's fine.
Okay, okay.
Okay, you can respond without.
All right. Thank you, Chair. And thanks again to all eminent members who raised questions. I must indicate that today I have the privilege to be called DG. In fact, I'm the Acting Deputy Director General, DDG. The DG, I want to believe he should also be in our midst, Mr. Mampuru. So I am his second right hand in the area of policy and governance. Secondly, Chair, I am used to be asking questions to or directing questions to professors and doctors. But today I have the privilege of receiving these challenging questions from these eminent members. So it's quite a privilege to be amongst the audience such as this one, the APRM. Chairperson, I want to believe that I am accompanied by accounting officers of the various departments who will also be able to come in and respond to some of the questions which are specific in nature, directed to their area of work. I will then just attempt a few questions and then allow the other colleagues who are the accounting officers in those departments to come in and provide the responses. Of course, Mr. Ngubane, as the accounting officer for cooperative governance and traditional affairs, I think he will be able to cover to a large extent the question on the question regarding the capacity of the municipalities as to how confident are we in making sure that municipalities will be able to drive these ambitious plans. So I will skip that because I believe there is a clear program in collaboration with the provincial treasury that they are championing to ensure that municipalities are able to deliver. With regard to the question on there's a bit of Chair.
Yes.
I hear the voice.
Jan, is it fine?
Okay. All right. Regarding the question on companies that are benefiting from the Youth Fund initiative. I must indicate, Chair, that we are piloting this initiative. It is for the first time that we are driving such an initiative. I think from our side, there's an appreciation that there are a number of initiatives in the country that are meant to support start-up companies and small, medium companies that have an intention of expansion. But largely these funds or financing institutions are issuing loans to these companies with an intention that these loans are repayable. However, this initiative is focusing on those youth that are in impoverished areas or villages where they can't even have the ability to provide a collateral so that they can access a loan. So this is a grant. We have kept it at a maximum of 5 million per company, which means once you have accessed the grant during this period, there is no expectation of paying it back. However, once we have observed and confirmed that this is a successful model or approach, we will then restructure the grant so that part of it becomes a loan and part of it becomes a grant which is not refundable. Mpumalanga Economic Growth Agency is our agency that offers such loans, but at the same time it provides support to these companies and mentors them and monitors them such that they are able to have the desired capacity, build the required capabilities so that they are able then to fly on their own. So we're not only granting the fund, but we're also providing business management support so that over time, maybe over 2 to 3 years, once we are certain that these companies can stand on their own, then we can withdraw. So it is some kind of a babysitting arrangement, if we can call it that way, so that we can see these companies through. But of course, we are not oblivious to the fact that many initiatives in terms of startup businesses, it is not all of them that succeed. Some of them do fail along the way. So we have tried to reduce that amount so that we can minimize the risk, so that if there's any losses, at least the losses are minimal. So we are accepting that it's not necessarily given that all these companies will be successful, but we also are providing some kind of support to ensure that they are being mentored and babysitted. We have not been able to conduct the trust survey or trust index. However, it is one of our desires that we should be able to conduct that kind of survey from time to time so that it is able to give us pointers as to what is the attitude of our people towards the services that we render, towards us, towards our standing or as we appear before them as their servants, if I can put it that way. Of course, we know nationally that there are a number of instruments or surveys that have been conducted, and currently we are relying on those national or country surveys that are conducted by other reputable institutions. I think partly I have responded to the question on the mortality rate of the businesses. We've not conducted any study. However, as I reckon that mortality is part and parcel of start-up businesses. But we are mitigating that through the support by MEGA. And I must also hasten to indicate that there are other national initiatives by the country government, such as the small medium business department that supports such, CEDA, which is the Small Enterprise Development Agency, the National Youth Development Agency. So there is collaboration with all these other institutions so that they are able to provide through their mandates and through their offerings, they are able to support these companies. Indeed, it is a challenge that nationally and even provincially, that South Africa has come to accept that one of the challenges since 1994 was that some institutions had demonstrated a large percentage of use of consultants than the use of internal capacity. But over time, with the intervention and guidance by National Treasury, DPSA, and these other national institutions and the president himself, that we need to be moving towards reducing the percentage on the use of consultants so that we are able to develop capacity within the state so that it is able to deliver the services. So I do think that Mr. Ngubane, if he's part of this meeting, he'll be able to elaborate as to what is it that local government institutions will do differently in this next 5 years of government. So I will leave that question to Mr. Ngubane. Moving on to other questions with regard to the collaboration between the public sector and the private sector, that public-private partnership. It is indeed true that largely the private sector is motivated by generating profits, whilst we are driven by the desire to ensure that every citizen or resident in our country is able to have equal access to services and the rights offered by the country or the constitution. It is always a competing or competitive environment between the two. However, I think we are clear in our mandate that whilst we are an active developmental state, we have established certain entities that should also be able to assist us to generate profit so that through those revenues we are able to deliver services. At the same time, we must provide an environment that enables business to thrive, because through our tax system also, which has matured and has proven to be very efficient, we're able to generate a lot of revenue through that kind of assistance. So our belief is that we should at all times try to harmonize the relationship between business, and government. However, in terms of the interests, these interests would always compete because, for example, let me use the example of the Eastern Cape where a company would like to explore sea mining or marine mining in terms of these interests. And the community is there, it's up in arms along with. So it is also through other institutions which are independent that can guide us in terms of managing those kind of interests and ensuring that there's harmony. But recently, the Premier and the Executive Council have met with a structure called Progressive Partnership for Growth Initiative. This is a partnership between, let me say, it is an establishment by different business chambers who are coming together. They are making themselves available without the invitation by us, out of their own volition, to say, government, this is us, we are available. We can amass certain resources. We can also develop plans, but we also want to work with you. We're going to come to the table, around the table, sit down with you, present our plans for 5 years. And you are also going to share your plans with us for the next 5 years so that between these plans, then we can find synergy and try to work together as to how do we assist and support you towards achieving your goals, whilst you are also assisting us to achieve or drive our business interest. So we believe through conversations and discussions, then we should be able to manage those relationships. But as I say, you always have to put an effort to strive to manage those relationships. It's not necessarily a guarantee that they would always be yielding the desired results, but it is through negotiations and leadership that we should try and manage this, and through commitment to the cause and the vision of the country. So I think that is the kind of mechanism that I can put, but that mechanism, it's not punitive. It is a mechanism that is voluntary, and I think it is not a mechanism that is legally enforceable, but it is through persuasion and conversation. And the rest of the questions with regard to disaster management, our investment in that area and so on, I'll then request my colleague, Mr. Ngubane, to come in. And I'm sure the DG and the other accounting officers who are present in the meeting, they'll be able to join and enhance my responses. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you so much, DDG. Let's wait for Mr. Ngubane to respond on the disaster management questions.
Thank you very much, Program Director. I would like to apologize for Mr. Ngubane. Mr. Ngubane is currently unavailable, but here it's Dr. Ntiwane, who is acting Chief Director here at the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. I will attempt in responding to the questions that affect local government and also deal with the issue of disaster, because the question that was asked was mainly on the best practices of the province with regards to disaster management. I should indicate that I have noted one of the statements which has been made to say municipalities are overstaffed. We should indicate that in as much as that can be visible in some of the municipalities, we do have challenges in technical departments of municipalities, which the province, particularly through our department, are from time to time assisting in capacitating them and even deploying technical teams to assist them. What we are happy with is that we just fresh from local government elections, and what it means is that we are going to start the process. We are now in the process of new administration, and this new administration is expected to develop strategic plans. And these strategic plans will not only look at service delivery, but will also look at capacity arrangements of municipalities, which could also influence the reorganization of their structures in terms of how the municipalities can perform. And as a province, we are actively participating in all strategic planning of municipalities. And this is what we are going to do henceforth to also influence how the structures should look and how they should capacitate themselves in terms of making sure that the required skill is available in municipalities. And the province with national government has also done a lot of work at local government, which is also doing in terms of deployment of technical teams, whether it's through young professionals or professionals themselves. We are going to shape up our municipalities from organizational arrangement to improve governance, because we have also learned that what makes us fail the most is when the governance fails. Then we become unable to deliver services to our municipalities. Now I want to address the other part that said, as a province, we have an ambitious plan of economic recovery. The colleague has mouthfully expanded on how we're planning to do that. I should indicate that at the local government level, our districts have also made a contribution through their district reconstruction and recovery plans that itemize projects and programs that are required to improve the economic development within their areas. I should indicate that the country adopted a new approach, which is the district development model. And it is through the district development model that we are going to achieve this, because it promotes collaboration not only with the public sector and its entities, but also with the private sector. We have accepted and know that government does not have the whole money needed to develop and provide services. Therefore, we need to partner with the private sector to assist us on the shortfall, in particular on our catalytic projects and programs that we have identified. And I should indicate that work is in progress, because all our districts, they have their existing structures in terms of the district development plan, district model, the DDM model, and they have also adopted what we call the DDM1 plans. These one plans incorporate all plans of all sectors, including the private sector. That should assist and support our municipalities in developing their areas and shaping up what they are supposed to do. Our best practices on disaster management, I should indicate, we all know that nobody plans for a disaster to happen, but you can also be proactive in dealing with disaster. The first approach that we do every now and then is to make sure that our disaster management plan, provincial disaster management plan, is in order, guided by the National Disaster Management Act. In the province, we have various structures that are existing to respond to disaster, which are joint operation committees. And in these committees, I should indicate that you have all the sectors, including the private sector, so that whenever a disaster happens, so you will have these structures at a provincial, district, at local level. when a disaster happens, they get activated immediately for all partners and sectors to respond. And the response and preparedness plans are prepared and relieves materials where they are required, they are delivered. As a province, we support our municipalities greatly when it comes to disaster because we know that they are also struggling with revenue collection. When it comes to relief materials, the province each and every year provides relief materials, and we distribute that through our district disaster management centers, which are functional. And we also have local disaster centers across our municipalities. We cannot run away from challenges that are existing. We do have challenges, in particular in our area of fire services. But now when I come to the issues of saying how do we proactively look at this, we know our risk areas because we do a thorough risk assessment that gets integrated in our disaster management plan, which also assists us in terms of our response plan to be readily available. We also have a hotline center that is live and functional, where our people call and report issues of disasters that we miss as a province. I should indicate that when it comes to rehabilitation, the province is always ahead in terms of making funds available. Although sometimes we struggle to make funds available for all the infrastructure that are damaged, but there is fund that is made available to quickly respond in the reconstruction of infrastructure. What we have also been doing in terms of reducing costs, particularly in the area of housing, we are working closely with the Department of Correctional Services, which brings parolees who are artisans to assist us with the repairs, because that also assists the province in terms of cost saving. But what we work best is the proper coordination that we have in terms of all the structures. The structures are not only technical, they are also political, which simply means our political principals, they are also aware and engaged with the issues of disaster. When it comes to the pandemic, which has affected the world, we have a special structure, which is a coronavirus command center of the province. All our districts and our local municipalities, they also have those command centers. What the command center does, and it is convened weekly. When the virus started, we were convening on a daily basis, both the technical and the political structures. That's where response plans are reported in terms of progress that is made by sectors, including our SAPs and the defense force, because they are also involved in terms of our plan. Chairperson, we can say a lot about what we do, but we believe that in shaping local government, as government, we cannot do it alone, but with the community and the private sector, we should be able to improve on service delivery. That's the input we are making as COPTA. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Tiwana from COPTA. Any other question remaining? DDG? That has been asked by the thematic chairs of the mission.
Chairperson, thank you very much. I do want to believe that Ms. Dr. Ndiwane, has attempted to cover all the questions. From my reading or from my notes, I do not see another question outstanding. Thank you.
There's a question coming from Dr. Lucy DDG, the performance of the SOEs. I think after the doctor, I will then now open the question from the floor. Can you kindly respond on that one, DDG? The performance of the SOEs.
Okay. Thanks again, Chair. Yes, the performance of the SOEs, I think it's public knowledge that generally SOEs in the country are struggling, and Mpumalanga is not an exception to that. I think one of the challenging issues that even the Executive Council under the leadership of the Premier is seized with, and I think together with Honorable M.C. Mkajwa, particularly with regard to MEGA, the Mpumalanga Economic Growth Agency, that I said it's the one that grants loans and support businesses. It is struggling to collect. I think that is one area of that we must not hide. And we are putting our efforts in that direction so that we can make this institution self-sustainable, because the trend so far is that annually the state has to allocate a budget to actually sustain this agency. That is one part. And then I think CEO Nobunga for MTPA is also here. But of course, I think he'll be able to clarify certain matters. Of course, largely, Mpumalanga Tourism Agency, in its design, has taken over certain assets from old homeland governments, as you would know the history of the country. And it is on its journey to ensure or to make sure how these assets now are able to generate income, because currently in their state, they are unable to generate revenue that will be able to sustain themselves. So similarly, on annual basis, the state does allocate a budget to ensure that this institution is also able to live. But I think with MTPA, it's a mixture, because some of the assets that are there are not necessarily for profit generation, but are for purposes of conservation, nature conservation, to ensure that our planet is protected with its animals and plants. May I invite CEO Nobunga to come in?
Thank you, DDG.
Thanks. Thanks, Program Director. Good afternoon to the eminent persons, the MEC and the colleagues. I think there are two issues that I've recorded that would require a response on our part. The first would relate to the issue of the collaboration that we are having as MTPA with SMMEs in order to fulfill the mandate of transformation of the tourism sector, as well as the issue of contributing towards job creation. As indicated by the acting DDG, that we are tasked with the responsibility of looking at the issues of biodiversity management and the tourism marketing function of the province. We are fortunate in that many of the protected areas that are under our watch are protected areas that are mainly claimed by various communities, which are presided over on behalf of the people by the community property associations called the CPAs, which we interact with in the main when there are developmental opportunities within these protected areas. And the kind of relationship that exists between ourselves and the CPAs, albeit sometimes difficult, but it's a relationship that forces us to work together as a management authority and them as landowners. So when there are business opportunities, particularly the big triple P opportunities, the investors are encouraged or are compelled to have a percentage ownership that is set aside for these communities. Whereas at the same time, as a management authority ourselves, we continue also to reap some rewards. So there is a tripartite benefit that exists between all the three stakeholders, which in the main also contributes to the people participating in these business opportunities, whether through small companies that are from the claimant communities or from the surrounding communities, because all of the surrounding communities around the parks have also formed themselves into an association called Peoples and Parks. The Peoples and Parks go beyond the land claimants that are represented in the CPA. So the structures and the availability of these opportunities are tailor-made such that there is always going to be a benefit that accrues to both the Peoples and Parks and the CPAs, and also that there is that greater job creation outflow that would benefit these communities at all times. So we are using this kind of a relationship to ensure that the collaboration that is needed is always there, and it reduces the kind of animosity that might arise when you talk about issues of economic opportunities that are made available to us. The second one speaks to the issue of your general participation. In the tourism space, we are, as a province now, focusing our attention on rural and township tourism, in view of the fact that when you talk about your international tourists in particular, when they come to the country and the province, they want to have a different experience. And the different experience is normally found where the people are, which would be your normal township and rural areas where the issues of arts and culture are richly available. And in the past, we used to ferry these people to urban centers to go and perform for tourists. And this focus now says tourists must go to where these people are. And when they go to where these people are, then you would require to have products that would make these people to have a memorable experience. So as MTPA, we are then supporting youth, women, and people with disability in particular as our focus areas of growing the rural and township businesses. As the acting DDG has indicated, that we have structured our support to these SMMEs through the financial support which is made available through other funding agencies of government. And on our part as MTPA, we come in with the mentorship and ensuring that we assist in the marketing of these small and emerging businesses and ensure that the business support is such that it ensures that many young people are absorbed into these small companies that are formed within these rural and township areas. And we also make sure that we develop the routes that would then be able to take tourists to these areas and map out the new products that get developed every time. In so doing, that also creates the trust that is there between ourselves as an SOE and government and the people out there, even though we are starting from a premise where there still exists that trust deficit between government and our communities, particularly when you talk about the youth. But as I've indicated on the two questions that I thought maybe it was important that I bring in this element, that as MTPA in the conservation and tourism sector, these are the efforts that we are putting in place. And also on the issue of the transformation of the biodiversity industries, your game meat industry, which many of our previous disadvantaged communities never had an opportunity of participating. We, led by the national government through the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, we are using that particular program to try and increase the number of land claimants that are having a support when it comes to them owning game farms. We have a program wherein we are doing game donations and also assisting some of these claimant communities and other interested previously disadvantaged communities or individuals that wants to come to the space. We do game donations in accordance with the policies that we have put in place to ensure that they also come into the game meat industry. Thanks, Program Director.
Thank you so much, Honorable Nobunga. I will now going to open questions from the floor. Johan, can you kindly help us with the mic? We'll start with the doctor here.
Yeah, thank you very much, Excellencies. And thank you for the response that we have received so far. But I think we should go deeper in the analysis. And I want to say something. We have just discovered in a background paper that guides this mission that in terms of investment, the administrations prior to 1994 focused on establishing townships. These are the historically well-known black areas, whereby today we are facing, South Africa is facing a lot of disasters, which was confirmed in Cape Town, in Eastern Cape, and in Gauteng, that those areas called townships like Sowetos and Alexandras and so on, where disasters are recurrent. The government prior, various governments from before 1994, even the following governments have not made enough investments in those areas to ensure those places are in safe areas, because those townships are usually based in areas that are very dangerous. What has been done both nationally and at the Mpumalanga province to ensure the safety of the people living in those areas? Secondly, is there any preparedness plan or what we call contingency plan for disasters? Because as your colleague reacted, we can know that what he was describing is mostly from a reactive perspective. But then before the disaster occurs, nobody can plan 100% for disasters not to happen, or if it happens, what should be done. But at least something can be planned so that when the disaster occurs, something can be done or proactively avoid or mitigate those disasters. Does the province of Mpumalanga have a preparedness plan. And finally, I want to ask you a direct question, DDG or DG. It is general knowledge that the funds for the management of COVID-19 have been mismanaged. It is public knowledge. And this goes across all provinces. We want to know a clear account, if possible, of what has been done in your province and nationally. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doc. I think let's go at the back. It will be next, Dr. Lucy, after.
Thank you, Honorable Nobunga, for the clarification you've given. I have just one question linked to the work you're doing with the young people, encouraging them to produce arts and crafts for the tourism. I want to know if in that process you've been relating with trade groups and associations or with individual businesses. And if it is so, do you have what is your effort in encouraging people to come to clusters of trade groups and associations?
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Sarah Hamouda from the EPRM Secretariat. I support the socioeconomic development thematic area, and my questions are concerning the three actually key issues. The first one is the participatory budget at the province level. To what extent citizens are engaged in the budget planning, especially after what was raised by Dr. Valerie about the mismanagement of COVID funds? Are citizens now become more engaged, somehow aware of the budget issues? Because I know that South Africa has been trying to encourage this approach for 2 decades now. My second question to the DDG, or maybe the other distinguished speaker, is regarding the business groups and civil society. To what extent they are also engaged in the development plan of the province? And the last question is regarding the women engagement. To what extent you are trying to support access to market for women, especially Black South African women and also the most vulnerable groups? Thank you.
Thank you. 1, 2, gone. We're here. Because let's all take the questions before I can allow the DG to respond. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you. From what we understand, generally, South Africa and the region, the province suffers from unemployment. That has been noted to be a major concern. To address the issue of job creation, it necessitates a lot of activities. For example, you must have an enabling environment, you must have capacity building, and they might have the opportunities for employment. I would ask, in a general context, perhaps you may have mentioned it in your program, but if you can elaborate a little bit more, that would be helpful. For example, what I mean specifically is what programs do you have for job creation? Thank you, in the region province.
Thank you, Prof. Let me allow the DDG and his colleagues to respond. Over to you, DDG.
Thank you once again, Chair. Earlier on, I had not had an opportunity to browse through the screen. So I think after the presentation, then I was able to do that. And I had an appreciation of the colleagues who are part of the meeting. And I think it would be appropriate that some of the HODs who are here perhaps also have a bite. I think there are questions that perhaps firstly HOD or head official, Ms. Gugu Mashiteng, can also assist. I think the question on how citizens participate in the budget process, and then how also we enhance or engage the business groups in this process, and also the accessing of markets by women. I think if I may request head official to assist in this regard. Through you, Chair.
Yes. I think probably can hand over to HOD Mashiteng, DDG.
Good afternoon, Program Director, honorable members. I'm Mr. Nathaniel Sibizo. I'm standing in for Ms. Gugu Mashiteng, who is attending to other commitments. I will attempt some of the questions. There was a question on the, participation of other stakeholders in the development of our plans, and also a question on some of the programs that will lead to the creation of jobs. In the province, from the Department of Economic Development and Tourism, we lead in terms of the development of the economic plans in the province. And recently we have developed the Mpumalanga Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan. In terms of the development of this plan, we basically followed a project-based approach. In terms of the process also, we engaged all the districts in the province. We had, workshops or summits with all the districts where we went to all the districts. We engaged all the stakeholders from the business sector, civil society, and all the sectors of the economy, so that we can get all the inputs, so that then we can implement this, this plan with a buy-in from all the sectors. In terms of also the budgetary allocations, because we focused on the recovery projects, the projects that are ready for implementation. Projects that also have got some funding and can also involve the multi-stakeholder engagement, including the participation of the private sector. So in this project, we did focus on the on the seven pillars of the economic recovery plan, focusing on infrastructure development. We also focused on the industrial development. On the industrial development, some of the projects that are included there is the development of our ICZ in the province. Some of the catalytic projects like the Mpumalanga International Fresh Produce Market, and also looking at the at the cluster of industries where we focus on the clustering based on the Mpumalanga competitive advantage. We also focused on the green economy initiatives. As you know that the focus now is on the Mpumalanga, especially on the just transition programs. We also focus on the agricultural sector. As you know, we are in an agricultural province. So the programs that we have identified in the agricultural sector, we've got various programs. We can share the economic recovery plan so that we can go through all the projects that we have identified to really recover our provinces and create much needed jobs. And also from the tourism side, we've got projects that we also identified there. That will also revive the tourism. Our CEO, Mr. Nobunga, has also talked about some of the of the programs focusing on SMMEs side. So basically, there are also employment programs where the government is taking a lead, an initiative to create a lot of employment. We've got the expanded public works program. That really is a massive employment generation program, and also some of the program linked to the provincial infrastructure development on the roads and human settlements and other programs. So basically, I think that's the question that were raised from the economic development side, program director. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think we had some questions that are tourism related. Over to you, CO, MTPA.
No, thanks, Program Director and the eminent persons and colleagues. On the issue of the arts and the crafts, I must indicate there that we work together with the Department of Culture, Sports and Recreation, which is a department that is entrusted with the responsibility of ensuring that the development of the arts and culture is pursued in the province. What we then do as MTPA, when those groups and individuals have produced their artifacts or their products, we then come in and assist in ensuring that we locate those products within the tourism routes that we are having as a province, and also ensure that we create that access to the market for these artists that are in the sector. We also ensure that we deal with the issue of the marketing of our products, both the tourism products that would be our hospitality products, as well as the arts and culture products. When we have these national and international conventions and exhibitions, we take along with us some of these product owners, so that these SMMEs and their products are exposed to the international market, and also link with the various funding institutions, as I've indicated, that they would then be assisting them in the event there are some compliance issues that are required for them to be able to sell their products outside of the country. And as indicated, when tourists are coming to the province, we make sure that these products are strategically placed. Now with COVID, we also included many of these individual art creators in the tourism relief, because we would all know that many of the interventions that were intended at ensuring that they assist SMMEs, they were not inclusive of the art practitioners that are out there in the rural areas who are not registered as official businesses. We made it possible that through the 10 million that was made available for SMME support on the COVID interventions, we found a way of utilizing them using the lists that the Department of Culture, Sports and Recreation is having, because it is the one that assists them, and also it is the one that registers them. And when we want to work with them, we go to the department and we get those lists. And it is through these lists that we know who is where and what kind of assistance needs to be given, even on the marketing platform, because we all would know that marketing individual art practitioners would be a difficult and expensive exercise. So we use the pooling effect of all of the activity of all of the products of the same kind, so that you create that broad market for them to be able to have a platform where they can exhibit their products.
Thank you so much, CEO. Colleagues, I think you, in the interest of time, allow me to close the session of the questions, and also allow me to borrow some words from the Bishop, that all of us seated here, we are the servants of the people. And also, Bishop, you have said we are the builders of hope. Being builders of hope, I am just going to ask each and every one of us 3 questions seated here. which were asked by Mother Teresa. And also especially DDG with your team as pathfinders of our communities. Do we know the people that we serve seated here? Do we definitely really love them in terms of their interest and their ambitions? Do we also really definitely know their needs, where they're located, because their hope is depending on us? If we definitely do, to God be the glory. Allow me to ask the chair to come and give us the vote of thanks. Or the bishop, is it okay? Bishop, the platform is yours. Come and give us the closing remarks of the day. Before the bishop closes, because I know it's also going to close in prayer. Colleagues, lunch is served where we had breakfast at 13 hours. I thank you. I also like to thank you so much. You've been such a very wonderful audience. Thank you.
Dear friends, we wanted to thank you very much, the people of Mpumalanga. We feel as if we had been physically present there. You were so magnanimous with your time, with the information you have shared with us, that we feel really enriched with your participation. We want to thank everyone. Every word which was said was carefully thought and was uplifting, and it gave us hope again. What we have been trying to do is to make sure that no one is marginalized. And it is in that context that we want to thank God above all for giving us to scientists this ability of making us meet with such efficiency as if we were sitting in the same room. So this is it's a real blessing that in our days we should recognize that in the past people had to travel for a long time to achieve what we have achieved today. We want also to recognize that our message is to say we are one another's keepers. You remember the story of the two brothers, sons of Adam and Eve, when one tried to cheat God, he ended up killing his own brother. And then he recognized that I should have been actually my brother's keeper. So APRM is committed to helping us in our countries to make sure that no one is cheated, that we are one another's keepers. And that is the message we seem to hear coming from the various information, this very informative presentation which we had from Mpumalanga. No one should be marginalized, and we are ambassadors of that, of those people who might be marginalized. So we thank you, and we assure you once again that we'll try to be as faithful, technically as efficient as possible to register what we had today and combine it with the rest of the information we get from the rest of the country. And it is our hope and our commitment that we will equip His Excellency, the President of South Africa, to share with his peers in February next year. And hopefully people will have learned from us, from Mpumalanga, not only for the country, but also for the continent. And why not for the rest of the world? Because after all, what we are doing with such transparency. We have nothing to hide. And so we thank you for your transparency. So now let's commit all our work to God in prayer. Lord our God, once again, we want to thank you for the time you have given us, for enlightening our minds, for making our hearts thrones of hope for those for whom we are working. We thank you for the gift of knowledge, for the skills you have given to the scientists to make us able to connect and communicate so efficiently. And we thank you once again as we are concerned with our health for the way you are enlightening the scientists to fight against COVID-19, malaria, and all the other diseases that are creating havoc in our societies. We thank you for giving us wildlife, which helps us to appreciate the beauty and the wealth of your creation. You knew, Lord, that something would go wrong in the health of your people. That is the reason why you created plants that would provide not only beauty and food, but also health. And it was in that context that you enlightened us to see what might go wrong in our lives. So teach us to be preventive. Take all steps of prevention that your children may enjoy fullness of life. And to that we place ourselves in your hand, trusting in your holy name. To you be all glory now and for all eternity. Amen. And the blessing of God Almighty, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit be with you and with all those whom you serve now and forever. Amen.